News. Problems with the pulse of New York. If there's something wrong with the veins, the entire city will wither. But the mayor says fear isn't an option.
Subway riders say they're having a hard time getting on board with the mayor and governor's new plan to keep people safe. I'm Jessica Easthope with why they say Mayor Adams' comments are out of touch in light of recent crimes.
New details about the Texas synagogue standoff. How did the suspect, known to authorities, get into the United States? And why Homeland Security says other houses of worship could be next. Then the March for Life. Thousands getting ready to descend on the nation's capital. Young people leading the way.
There's something instinctive that young people know that there's a value in life.
Plus, a man on a mission. He's lost more than 100 pounds and counting, all at his daughter's demands. I'm Christine Persichetti. Current News starts right now. The sounds of the subway reserved now for the brave or for those who boarded out of necessity alone. Either way, riders are on edge. And so is New York City's mayor. He says even he feels unsafe on the rails. That's a 180 to his previous comments on the subway subject, saying that if the mayor has swagger, so will the city. But tonight, New Yorkers are questioning if swagger is enough. Current News' Jessica Easthope says the real riders are demanding an entire overhaul.
As New York attempts to recover from COVID-19, riders say the subway system is still sick.
It's been disturbing. Just in the past week, various people breaking the law. One guy was lighting things on fire.
People pushing people being nervous and scared.
Mayor Eric Adams was elected, vowing to make New York safer. Now he and Governor Kathy Hochul are working their way up, starting with the underground transit system many say is beyond repair.
It's going to take a ton of money and organization, and I don't see it.
The plan, tackle homelessness with the help of trained social workers and add more cops to, quote, reimagine the NYPD's coverage of the subways.
Like to see police a little more dispersed, walking around, not on their telephones.
But riders say they're not imagining the risk to their safety. Mayor Adams now says he feels unsafe only after he was criticized for saying it's only the perception of fear that have people scared to get on the train.
I haven't seen him taking the train with me. It's basically become, the world's largest mobile homeless rescue operation.
He sees what's going on, and he could speak up for himself, but not for everybody else.
Rosie Fernandez says she rides the subway terrified she'll be next. She came out Tuesday to attend a candlelight vigil for Michelle Go, who was pushed by a homeless man in front of a moving R train to her death Saturday.
Seeing homeless more than ever. Inside the train is very dangerous.
2 years ago, the pandemic brought ridership to a screeching halt, and it's only reached 56% of pre-pandemic levels. But still, many agree. One sound that's being ignored, a cry for help by New York City's homeless.
In a sense, they're asking for help, but still being ignored.
And I hope they get the help that they need, because it's like a cry out, but I am worried.
The new plan to improve safety is expected to be rolled out immediately. In the meantime, riders say they're waiting and hope Mayor Adams' promises don't go off the rails. In Manhattan, Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
We're learning more about the victim of Saturday's tragic attack. According to her family, Michelle Go spent more than a decade volunteering with the New York Junior League, a nonprofit focused on helping New Yorkers get up and stay on their feet. According to the organization, Go in particular focused on the elderly, the homeless, immigrants, and struggling children, saying she always volunteered with a giant smile, and her enthusiasm made both community members and other volunteers enjoy working with her. Turning now to the Texas synagogue standoff. The White House is now calling Saturday's 11-hour hostage situation an act of terror. We're also learning today that a neighboring Catholic parish provided a sanctuary for those waiting to hear about the fate of their loved ones. Good Shepherd Church, just down the block from the Beth Israel Synagogue in Colleyville, gave family members a private space to gather in the church hall. Interfaith leaders came and went throughout the harrowing day, and parish staff came in to handle the phones. Many people people even dropped off meals for the families. The pastor of the church told The Tablet that the Catholic and Jewish communities there have had a close relationship for many years. Father Michael Higgins said it was a very uplifting and supportive environment. And when we heard finally that the hostage situation was solved, there was a collective sigh of relief, hugs, prayer, thanking God, patting each other on the back. It was just a great relief and celebration. In the meantime, new details are emerging about the gunman, and it turns out we do know quite a lot about him because Malik Akram was the subject of a British investigation in late 2020. Regardless, by the time he flew to New York just weeks ago, authorities did not believe he was still a risk. The British citizen then traveled to Texas and bought a gun on the street. During the standoff, Akram demanded the release of a Pakistani neuroscientist who is serving an 86-year prison sentence in nearby Fort Worth over attempts to kill U.S. soldiers in Afghanistan. Akram claims he was not acting on behalf of a foreign terrorist organization. Thankfully, the hostages escaped, but now synagogues and other religious houses of worship are wondering if they could be next. They aren't alone in thinking that. In fact, the Department of Homeland Security worries more hostage scenarios will take place, and soon. Britt Conway has the story.
I heard that very distinct click of an automatic handgun being pulled back.
And for the nearly 11 hours that followed, inside Congregation Beth Israel, 4 people were held hostage. The active shooter training they'd taken months before, now a reality.
It absolutely saved our life. We escaped, and we escaped because we kept presence of mind, because we made plans, because we strategically moved people.
The Anti-Defamation League warns attacks on Jewish people are on the rise. It says the majority of the anti-Semitic incidents involve harassment and vandalism. But there have also been assaults, and at least 6 times since 2016, they've been deadly. As the FBI continues to investigate what happened in Texas, the Bureau's deputy director and a top official with the Department of Homeland Security warn faith-based communities have and will likely continue to be targets of violence by both domestic violent extremists and those inspired by foreign terrorists. Pointing out online forums linked to domestic violent extremists that have referenced Jewish targets tied to conspiracy theories about COVID-19, the outcome of the 2020 election, along with the Taliban takeover of Afghanistan and resettlement of Afghans to the U.S. It's why they're urging faith-based communities to look at their security with a critical eye. I'm Britt Conway reporting.
Homeland Security has plans to work with Congress to increase funding so faith-based communities around the United States can upgrade their security. But that won't be the only thing that helps. As Britt Conway just reported, hostages are speaking out, saying it was the years of security training prompted by endless threats to synagogues that allowed them to devise a plan and escape. Both the rabbi and some of his congregants had taken part in at least 4 separate trainings following the dramatic rise of anti-Semitic attacks in the United States. Now to a last-ditch effort. Senate Democrats are still pushing new voting rights protections in Congress, even though the measure appears all but dead right now. That's because of a showdown, partly within their own party. Democrats want to set federal standards on voting by combining 2 separate bills already passed by the House, the Freedom to Vote Act and the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. However, every Republican is opposed to the bill. Forging ahead just makes Republicans publicly declare their opposition to the bill, but little else. This comes one day after the family of Martin Luther King Jr. sought to position Monday's holiday as a springboard for voters' rights. But as John Lawrence reports, the heirs to Martin Luther King's legacy vow to keep fighting no matter the Senate's decision.
What do we want? PCC! On a day celebrating Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy, his family is calling for action.
Today, my message to you is simple. Do not celebrate, legislate.
People from more than 100 national and grassroots organizations joined the King family in a march in Washington, D.C. They're demanding Congress pass the voting rights legislation.
Don't tell us what you believe in, show us with your votes.
The legislation would give the federal government more oversight in setting voting regulations. Vice President Kamala Harris echoing the King family's call.
This bill represents the first real opportunity to secure the freedom to vote, since the United States Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act nearly a decade ago.
They're hoping to put pressure on Democrats Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema. While both senators support voting rights reform, they oppose changing filibuster rules to get it passed.
Eliminating the 60-vote threshold will simply guarantee that we lose a critical tool that we need to safeguard our democracy.
No matter the outcome, the heirs to Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy vowed to keep fighting.
We must keep the pressure on and say no more empty words.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
The Diocese of Brooklyn honored Martin Luther King Jr. with a special mass on Monday, one aimed at educating the next generation about the pastor's mission. The Mass used music to reinforce King's message of kindness and nonviolence. The diocese's Vicariate Office of Black Catholic Concerns organized the service at Our Lady of Victory Church in Bedford-Stuyvesant, an area King knew well. They invited young people to the Mass, including a special group that works to evangelize in the diocese. The Vicariate hopes that young people will take King's message and apply it to their world in order to make their own communities a better place. There's a lot more news headed your way. They're about to step out for the annual March for Life. Why so many of the marchers are young people. Plus this.
She said, "Daddy, you're fat. I don't want you to die."
Out of the mouths of babes, how this man's daughter helped save his life. And the Pope lending a helping hand to the victims of a typhoon. United States bishops consider abortion one of the most significant human rights abuses of our time. The question tonight, will you take a stand? You'll have the chance to later this week. That's when thousands will head to Washington, D.C. on Friday for the March for Life, the largest annual human rights demonstration in the world. The event brings pro-life supporters together to protest the anniversary of the Supreme Court's 1973 Roe v. Wade ruling that legalized abortion in all 50 states. But the event is not just a protest. It's about celebrating life, every life, from the moment of conception to natural death. Brooklyn's Bishop Robert Brennan has been to the March for Life before, and he will be down in D.C. this year as well. He joins us now. And Bishop Brennan, you've walked the National Mall several times for this huge event. Tell me what strikes you most about the march.
One of the things that strikes me the most is the joy and the enthusiasm. We're there for a very, very serious reason, but people who are there are filled with this conviction about the goodness, the importance of life. And life at every stage. One of the things that impresses me always when I go to the Mass at the shrine, at the National Basilica, is to see both the veterans, the people who've been doing this year after year, going back to 1973 or so, but also to see a whole new generation, a generation of young people who are filled with joy. This year will be a little bit different. The National Basilica is generally filled to the brim. You have young people sitting in all of the different shrine areas and the different altar sides, sitting on the floor. The church is packed beyond belief. Obviously, that's not going to be the case this year. We have to set a cutoff. It's not because people aren't interested, but we have to restrict the numbers. But yet, we'll be together. We'll be together united in prayer. We'll be together united in appreciation for the gift of life, and asking God's mercy on us and his help for us as a country, that we might grow in our respect for that gift of life that he gives to us and gives to every human person.
It is so nice that we can actually get together in person this year. And you mentioned young people. A lot of people might be surprised that young people actually make up the majority of those marching to the Supreme Court. Why do you think so many young people are choosing to support life?
I think that it kind of goes naturally. There's a logic to supporting life. There's an inherent logic. We call it natural law. So there's something instinctive that young people know, that there's a value in life. Unfortunately, society tends to try to shake that up a little bit. But young people have that inner knowledge of the value of human life. And I'm always inspired to see the young people who take up the cause. But we can never lose sight of the veterans, the people who've been doing this for years and years and years. So that's what I love seeing, is that mix of people who've been doing this all along and the young people.
Absolutely, and you mentioned the Shrine. The March for Life really kicks off Thursday night with the National Prayer Vigil at the Shrine of the Immaculate Conception. You'll be there. You're offering a special reflection during the Holy Hour afterwards. Can you give us a sneak peek on what you're planning to say?
Well, who knows where the Spirit may move me at the time, but my plans right now, I plan to tie in the fact that being created in God's own image and likeness, you go back to the book of Genesis, being created in God's own image and likeness is really the truth that underlies all of our teachings, all of who we are. So respect for life is the foundation of, respect for the dignity of every human person is the foundation of our teaching on abortion, on euthanasia, on violence. Second thing I would probably want to talk about has to do with changing hearts and minds. And that one of the things that I'm so inspired by in terms of the work of the church and so many others, it's not just the church, but so many other pro-life organizations, has to do with not only changing legislation, which is something very important to us, but really about meeting people in their need. So we've initiated that Walking with Moms in Need. We want to be there with and for people every step of that journey.
Yeah, so people go every year, and each year they're praying for Roe v. Wade to be overturned, as you're talking about legislation, but we know it hasn't happened yet. So what's your message for those who could be losing faith with the pro-life cause? Never give up. Never give up. We know that God works in mysterious ways, that God is working through us, and it is discouraging. It is hard. And we're going to be coming up next year on 50 years since the Roe v. Wade decision. And what a tragedy that is. But on the other hand, we recognize that through the ages, God sometimes acts in mysterious ways after even longer periods of time. So like the people in biblical times, we pray, oh, how long, oh God, please let this be changed soon. When oh God, we're longing for you, we're longing for your salvation, we're longing for the conversion of hearts and minds in our country and around the world. All right, you heard Bishop Brennan. We must be on a mission to change hearts. Bishop, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you. If you want to watch that National Prayer Vigil for Life on Thursday, you can do so right here on Net TV. We will be airing it live starting at 5 p.m. on January 20th.
He did it, and I'm so proud of him.
Also tonight, a special story about a new year and a new start. This little girl's dad is thanking her for saving his life. She was scared her daddy was going to die, so she told him, and that's what set off his inspirational transformation. Whether he's working out himself or training his wife and daughter.
There we go. 1. Very good. 2.
You'll often catch Anthony Lally at the gym. The 44-year-old Brooklynite is a bodybuilding champ, but that wasn't always the case.
Since as far back as I can remember, I struggled with my weight.
This was Anthony just a few years ago. He was a real estate mogul and best-selling author at the top of his game when it came to everything but his weight.
Yes, absolutely. At my heaviest, I was 315 pounds. I started getting sleep apnea, chest pains.
So when his 2.5-year-old daughter at the time noticed Daddy was obese.
She said, "Daddy, you're fat. I don't want you to die." That was it. That was the moment that changed my life.
July 17th, 2018, this is my day too.
He got to work and documented his fitness journey.
Thursday, July 19th, July 28th, August 15th.
Anthony lost 140 pounds in 9 months, had surgery to remove loose skin around his middle, and entered his first bodybuilding competition the following year. His wife, Teresa, is his biggest supporter, fan, and student.
Excellent.
I just give him all the credit because he actually committed and did it. He took his life serious and he took his family serious.
And once an entrepreneur, always an entrepreneur, Anthony turned his own transformation into a business, Radical Body Transformations, helping others get fit and healthy.
It was bigger than just me. It was just, maybe God used me as a tool, as an instrument to help other people.
And it's all thanks to his daughter, Love.
Well, me and my mom and my brother Legend inspired my dad to lose weight, and he did it, and I'm so proud of him.
Anthony tells me he feels alive, that he's now able to play with his children without getting out of breath. He says he wants people to know his story, to know it's possible. If you'd like to learn more about Anthony's transformation and how he's helping others get fit and healthy, check out the Radical Body Transformations website at rbtshow.com. Still to come on Currents News, Pope Francis digging deep to help the Philippines recover from last month's devastating typhoon. And you can't beat the power of prayer, why praying this week is even more significant. Pope Francis had a busy weekend signing off on checks to those who need it most. The Holy Father providing just over $100,000 to the Philippines after a devastating typhoon struck the Asian country in December, leaving thousands homeless. The Pope is also sending another $100,000 to assist Caritas Poland, which has been helping the hundreds of migrants on the Polish-Belarusian border who have been stranded there since November. They are now facing freezing winter conditions. It seems countries all over the world need the power of prayer right now, and that's a good thing because today kicks off the Week of Prayer for Christian Unity. The initiative was started by friars in upstate New York, but now it's celebrated by Christians in all corners of the globe. Joining us now to talk about how the Diocese of Brooklyn is taking part is Father Michael Lynch, Vicar for Ecumenical and Interreligious Affairs. And Father, what's the significance of this week? I mean, as Catholics, we should be praying every day. What makes this week different?
Thanks, Christine. Great question. You know, this is an opportunity, one time in the year when Christians all over the world can get together and sort of focus on the prayer and the quote of Jesus in John's Gospel, you know, that we all may be one, that they may all be one, he said. And so this is an opportunity for us to do that together here in our own diocese and all around the world and all the different platforms that are available to us. You know, Bishop Brennan specifically said, Michael, can we use the different platforms so that we can help people know and understand and pray for Christian unity?
That's wonderful. And I know that there's a different prayer every day. Tell us a little bit more about the focus of these prayers.
Sure. The prayers this week are all designed out of a theme that was selected from the Mideast Council of Churches. And it focuses on the story of the Magi. And this is a part of the world where there's great trouble, great distress in Lebanon and other Christian nations and other Christian communities and churches in those areas. And so every day this week, a different prayer is going to be broadcast with a different priest from our own diocese who is involved in ecumenical work.
That's so nice. So how can people at home get more information and follow along with the prayers?
Oh, well, they can follow us on Net TV. I'm sure you'll run the schedule in a minute, so it's there every day for 8 days, this Week of Prayer for Christian Unity. Also on the website for the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, the USCCB, and also at Graymore Ecumenical and Interreligious Institute, or GEII.org, who are the hosts for all the prayers this week.
Okay, sounds good. Father Michael Lynch, Vicar for Ecumenical and Interreligious Affairs, thanks so much for being with us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And just like Father Lynch said, to take part in these prayers, tune into Net TV and you'll see them broadcasted throughout the day. You can also head over to usccb.org for more information. And that is Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.